we spoke about what stories to cover, and I thought this one was a good one for you, Bob, to start with. It's about assisted dying. This is a clip from a Sky News interview.
The point of this bill is it is only for terminally ill people. Terminally ill people like myself. And when you get to the point where you only have 6 months left to live, when your treatment has stopped working, at the moment, there are no safeguards in place for those people. And so many people are suffering horrendous, agonizing, prolonged, drawn out deaths. And there is nothing there to currently protect them. 17 people a day are dying, sorry, in, agonizing, unrelieved pain. And the fact that there could be a bill out there that would give us choice, that we don't have to spend the time that we have left living fearing what could be a horrendous death. And that's why this bill has been brought out. The bereaved families have been huge campaigners for this as well, who've witnessed their loved ones dying. And it just feels very much that this is the time for change and for this bill to come in.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about this issue. What's your take on it, Bob?
Well, given the recent decades of austerity, attacks on wages, attacks on people's rights, the withdrawal of benefits, the withdrawal of heating allowances and all the rest of it, given we've had what effectively amounts to social murder, for us now to believe our political elite want to do something to aid suffering takes quite a leap of the imagination. What that lady's trying to do is make an emotional appeal based on not the reality that I have witnessed. In 30 years of practice, I've only had one patient who asked me whether I could speed up his demise. And what I did was had a very, soft and slow conversation with him to say, we have good palliative care services. In my experience, patients do not suffer. And he was, after a while, he was totally reassured about that. And thankfully, he had a peaceful death. But what we're experiencing in the media and also on television programming is a nudging to normalize assisted suicide. And before you know it, as they often do, politicians introduce something that may sound reasonable, and within a few years, the policy has progressed to include a lot more people. And one example is that of Canada, where assisted killing, assisted suicide is now the 5th largest cause of death in Canada. So there is a slippery slope argument here. And I do not trust our politicians with this change in the law. They talk about safeguards. Well, people with very short memories need to remind themselves of what happened in the pandemic, where the government issued a diktat to empty hospitals and send infected COVID patients back into nursing homes, triggering off 20 to 30,000 excess deaths in the nursing home. Has anybody been held to account to that? Where were the safeguards? So we should be very careful to recognize that this emotional argument people are making, we're not hearing the opposite side of that argument in a lot of these news pieces, is softening us up for something which the government will use to speed the demise of people who are on benefits, the most vulnerable in society, and create an atmosphere in our culture that says, well, it's acceptable to kill people. And that produces its own pressure on the vulnerable, because they say, well, I don't want to be a burden on my family, and now there's this way out. So we should avoid it like the plague.